So let me introduce you before you begin your presentation, but thank you so much for joining. My name is Tan. If there's anyone new here to our Kumi Now online gathering, I'll make sure to share the links for us, for you guys in the chat later on. I will also share Sabil's website if you want to know more about Sabil. But today we'll be talking about international law and the legalization of dispossession in the context of Jerusalem. And we have the honor to be joined today by Rami Saleh, who is the Jerusalem Branch Director for Jerusalem Legal Aid and Human Rights Center. And Mr. Saleh is a human rights activist working closely with civil society organizations throughout Jerusalem and the West Bank. He is a member of the board of directors of the Palestinian Counseling Center and also holds a master's degree in human rights. So thank you, Rami. Thank you so much for joining us. And in terms of the layout today, maybe you can talk for 30, 40 minutes, and then we can have some time for Q&A. And if anyone has questions for Rami while he does his presentation, you can put it in the chat, and I'll make sure to relay it to him after he finishes his presentation. So again, thank you, Rami. Thank you for joining us today, and we really look forward to learning from you today.
Shukran, shukran. Thank you for this introduction. And it is my pleasure to meet you all in order to, let us say, shed the light on different issues related to Jerusalem and especially to the geopolitical situation in Jerusalem, the most recent violation of human rights for us as Palestinians whom are living in the city of Jerusalem. Allow me just, I'm going to share with you the screen. Here is share. Entire screen. Share, yes. And here, this is my PowerPoint. So, today I'm going to talk about Jerusalem as a city of a forcible transfer, a city that faced the forcible transfer actually more than once, but starting from 1948, 1967, and back in the recent forcible transfer for families that they are living in Sheikh Jarrah, in Silwan, in Beit Hanina, in different neighborhoods in the city of Jerusalem. And here, I would like, before starting, I would like to introduce our organization, JLAC, which is the Jerusalem Legal Aid and Human Rights Center, an organization that was established by the Quakers, the American Friends Services Committee, Quakers, back in 1974. This makes us one of the oldest human rights organizations that are providing legal aid in the Palestinian occupied territories. And as you noticed, because we were established in 1974, this makes us like celebrating the Golden Jubilee that was last year. And as we were looking within our old archive, especially with the Quakers archive, we have noticed this article that is from the, you can see in the screen, from the New York Times on April 1975, showing this gentleman, Ayub Khamis Tutanji, with the background of Al-Aqsa Mosque, Dome of the Rock in the old city. This was one of our oldest cases that we have adopted. A very typical case in Jerusalem that Khamis Ayub Tutanji, he received an eviction order from the Israel authorities. And starting from within our first steps as a human rights organization, as a legal aid organization, we adopted the case and we worked it out to defend his right to stay in his house. And also, I will take this opportunity to say that one of the strategies of our organization is not only providing legal aid, as we will see, but also since the beginning, we started working on the advocacy on the international level. For us, this venue, meeting you, the Friends of Sabil, having different, let us say, attendees from different areas, from the United States, from Europe, for us, this is a continuous message that we are working on, that shedding the light on the issues, on the challenges that we as Jerusalemites are facing on a daily basis. Our organization is working on providing legal aid for Palestinians whom their rights are being violated, regardless whether it is the Palestinian Authority, such as political arrest, or termination from the public job in the Palestinian Authority, or the occupation itself in Area C and Jerusalem. And I will concentrate in our case here in Jerusalem. To start with, Al-Nakba. Al-Nakba, which was in 1948, we are talking about 28,000 Palestinians were obliged, were forcibly transferred from their houses from West Jerusalem and became refugees in the east side of Jerusalem. Allow me to go to Google Earth. Tan, you can see the Google Earth, right?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, excellent. And here we can see the city of the West Bank, and here is the city of Jerusalem, and we can see the Palestinian neighborhoods in West Jerusalem. This is, for instance, Talbiye, Katamon, Baqa, German colony, Greek colony, Attori. We are talking about the most luxurious neighborhoods, not only in Palestine, not only in Jerusalem, Palestine, neither in the Middle East. Families from Iraq, from Syria, from Lebanon, from Egypt were living in these neighborhoods. And these neighborhoods, people were obliged under the weapon, they were threatened, and they became refugees in the other side of the city. Here is the old city, and they became refugees here in the city of Jerusalem. We are talking about 10,000 fully furnished houses that they were been distributed for Palestinians, for new Jewish settlers that came to the city of Jerusalem. We are talking about those houses that they were here, all of them were given to new Jewish settlers. This happened in 1948. What happened in 1967? In 1967, we are talking about the Moroccan Quarter. In order to know more, we are talking about this part of the old city. This orange area in the old city, this is called the Moroccan Quarter. 135 houses. We are talking about 135 historical houses. Some of them are like 800 and 1000 years old, from the Fatimids era, from the Crusaders era, from the Mamluki era. All of them were demolished. And here we can have some rare pictures showing the destruction of those houses. You can see here that is very similar to what is happening right now in Gaza. We are talking about 950, almost 1,000 people were forcibly transferred and they became refugees in their own city. Where? In Shafat refugee camp. If you have the opportunity to visit Jerusalem, we will be more than delighted to take you and to visit the Shafat refugee camp. In this map, you can see how much this is highly populated, high density area that is living here in East Jerusalem. You will say, okay, this is old stories about 1948 and 1967. What is the current situation? And right now, I would like to assure that we are talking about a demographic conflict. In 2021, we as Palestinians, we were 366,000 Palestinians living in the city of Jerusalem. We are talking about, let me put the pen, we are talking about 38.6% of the population in the city of Jerusalem. While the Israelis in the city, they are 61.4. And if we are talking about natural growth, we as Palestinians within the coming 10 years, we will be more than 40% of the population of Jerusalem. And the Israelis will be less than 60%. Is there a problem with this? Yes, there is a problem. Because this figure that we are going to be more than 40%, we as Palestinians, we are the original people that were living in the city of Jerusalem. For the Israelis, it's a threat. Threat to what? To the master plan 2020, because within this master plan, they said that the city of Jerusalem should maintain as the solo, the only capital for the Jewish all over the world. And for this reason, the Jewish should be more than 70% of the population, as you can see here. And Palestinians should be less than 30%. So we can see here that the Israelis, for them, if the Palestinian with their natural growth, we will exceed the 40%, it's considered a conflict with their plans to maintain a majority of Jewish in the city of Jerusalem. Within the coming 30 minutes, I will try to shed the light on the main tools, on the main strategies that the Israeli authorities are using in order to maintain a majority for Jews and reduce the number of the Palestinians in the city of Jerusalem. What are those tools? First, the Greater Jerusalem Bill that was introduced recently to the Knesset on March 2nd. It was supposed to go through the first reading. It was postponed for some technical issues. But within this Greater Jerusalem Bill, you will see the city of Jerusalem will be different. By the way, let us see the city of Jerusalem according to the Israelis. This is the borders of the Jerusalem municipality. We are talking about 125 kilometers. This part beyond the red line is East Jerusalem. Again, I will zoom out. Please look here. You can see this is the West Bank. The West Bank, which was occupied in 1967, okay, this is Jerusalem, and this blue area here, it is considered an occupied territory. This is East Jerusalem that was occupied in 1967. Just to let you know that the total area of Jerusalem, according to the Israeli laws, is 125 kilometers. While East Jerusalem, this area, it's 75 kilometers. But if we are talking about having Greater Jerusalem, this will expand to add those blocks of settlements. Let us zoom out and you will be able to see the new borders of metropolitan Jerusalem. Here we have Ma'ale Adumim block. Here we have Giv'on block and Gush Etzion. And you can see this is Bethlehem city. Bethlehem city itself, it will be isolated totally from any Palestinian surroundings, because there are new settlements that are cutting the continuity between Bethlehem and the city of Hebron. And already, just to let you know, that Bethlehem is already cut out of Jerusalem by the separation wall that you will be able to see it here. This is the yellow line. It is, you can see, this is the separation wall. Okay. Already Bethlehem city is isolated and disconnected from its neighboring Palestinian city, Jerusalem. Here is Beit Safafa, a Palestinian neighborhood. Here is the old city itself. These are all of them. They are left outside and it is disconnected. So the Greater Jerusalem Bill, why it is dangerous? First, we are talking about that these areas, it's almost 10% of the West Bank area. So that they have confiscated 10% of the area of the West Bank. Again, this is the West Bank. And right now it is part of annexed area to Jerusalem. Secondly, we are talking about having additional 180,000 settlers that they are living in those two in these three settlements. 180,000 settlers that they will change the equation here. Okay, they will increase the number of settlers in the city of Jerusalem. And third main point that usually we should not put it aside that 86%, please, this is very important. 86% of the area of the capital of the state of Israel, they say this is their capital, it is on an occupied territory. Yes, it is an occupied territory. Again, we are talking about all of this area where I'm hovering over the mouse is West Bank. It's an occupied in 1967. If we are talking about two-state solution, this East Jerusalem should be part of the capital, should be the capital of the Palestinian state. So here, what we can see that 86% of the area of the capital of Israel is occupied territory, and only this area that was considered West Jerusalem. And you can see here, we are talking about those neighborhoods that already in 1948, before 1948, they were Palestinian neighborhoods. Qatamon, Baqa, Talbiye, the neighborhoods that I mentioned earlier. Okay. You will say, Rami, please, you are talking about plans. Yes, this is the plan that they have introduced already on March, like 3 months ago. And you will say, Rami, please, give us facts. Give us like current facts. What is the situation? I will tell you something. The yellow line is the separation wall, as you can see. Okay? And here we have two areas, Shu'afat area where I'm hovering the mouse, and Kufr Aqab area. Two highly populated, highly density areas in East Jerusalem. What about them? Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu 3 years announced that they are not looking to continue administrating those two areas. Within those two areas, we are talking about more than 1/3 actually of the Palestinian society, Palestinians living in East Jerusalem. 1/3. We are talking about 121,000 Palestinians are living on those two areas, Kufr Aqab and Shafat refugee camp. What will happen with them? This will lead that those people whom are living there will be outside of Jerusalem and they will revoke the residence rights. I see that Ronnie have a question. Please, Ronnie, unmute yourself and please, if you have a question, go in. No, we can't hear you, Ronnie. Okay, no problem. We will keep the questions for the end of this session, okay? So, right now we are talking about 1/3 of the population of East Jerusalem will not continue to be Jerusalemites. So that here again, instead of increasing, we are going to talk about decreasing the number of Palestinians. And you will have the same questions. Rami, these are plans. What's the current situation? Let us go and see the current situation. Right now, we are talking about 251,000 settlers are living in East Jerusalem. Where? Again, in East Jerusalem. I'm going to remove the dark areas here. And let us see the settlements that are currently in East Jerusalem. Here are the settlements in East Jerusalem. These red areas are the settlements. 251,000 settlers are living, which means that 43% of the current, again, I'm not talking about plans, about the current settlers, the current situation, that 43% of the population of the Jewish in the city of Jerusalem are settlers. And this contradicts with the international law, especially Article 49 of the Fourth Geneva Convention, that the occupying power shall not deport or transfer its own civilian or its own population to the occupied territories. And again, I'm not comparing, but just to refresh our memory. As Russia occupied or have the Crimea issue, everybody, all of the international society, had rejected that they are retransferring some of its population to the occupied territories in Ukraine. And right now, unfortunately, we are talking about 43% of the population in East Jerusalem are settlers. And we haven't noticed a real statement from the international society concerning this issue. Before we finish about settlements, I will share with you a very important issue. We, as a legal aid organization, we were able to monitor that between October 2023 and October 2024, we are talking about 12 months, 12 months, Israeli authorities had approved 19 different settlements projects inside East Jerusalem. 19 projects. What does this mean? This means that you are talking about 19,000 new housing units inside settlements to be built in East Jerusalem. This will lead for almost 100,000 new settlers. So we are talking about 251 now. We are talking about 100,000 settlers that will be living in the new settlements and the new annexation of, the new expansion of the current settlements in East Jerusalem. In addition to 180,000 from the annexed blocks, Gush Etzion, Givat Ze'ev, and Ma'ale Adumim. So we're talking about more than 600,000 settlers will be living in the city of Jerusalem. This is the current situation and what will be coming in soon, in the coming future. Okay, you will say, okay, good, we noticed about the settlements. What other issues you face as Palestinians living in the city? The limitation of natural housing growth. According to the municipality of Jerusalem. According to whom? The municipality of Jerusalem. Municipality of Jerusalem, and the Israeli municipality. We're not talking about Palestine, we are talking about the municipality of Jerusalem. There is a report that there is a need of 1,500 housing units per year for Palestinians in East Jerusalem. Again, this report is not by an international organization. This report is not by a Palestinian organization. It is by the municipality itself. That there is a need to accumulate the natural growth with 1,500 units. Type, so what? What's the problem? In 2012, we have noticed that there was 283 applications for license. Those are applications by Palestinians living in East Jerusalem for the Israeli municipality. And you will say, khalas, for sure. Since the municipality announced that there is a need of 1,500, for sure, they will approve all of them. How much you think, or how many they approved? 125. Less than the half of the applied license were approved. Rami, please, you are talking about history. 12, it's like old figure. It's like back in 2012. What's the situation now? Okay, let us go to 2019, 5 years ago. 5 years ago, according to the Israel authorities, not according to us, according to the Israel authorities, there was an approve of 21,000 units to in East Jerusalem. 21,200 new housing units were approved. How many for Palestinians? 147, 147, 100, 1,470 only. Less than the number of the 1,500 that they said that there is a need. And we say, Rami, according to statistics, please, يعني 1,470, it is almost 1,500. خلاص, leave them. They are giving you what you need. There is a need of 1,500, and they gave you 1,470. No, it's not the case. You recall in the first slides that we as Palestinians living in East Jerusalem, we are almost 39% of the population. This figure, the 1,400, it does not reflect the reality. It is less than 7.5% of the population of the number of housing units that they were approved by the Israel authorities. So even we thought that, okay, the 1,500, which is an old number, it was according to an old statistics like back in 2010, 2011. But right now, the current situation is totally different. Even though for us, what we see here is that the 1,470 new housing units, it is less than 7.5% of the needed or of the population. And let us have a look to the demolitions happened recently. I wouldn't say recently, we are talking about since 2011. We as a human rights organization, we were able to document. You can see here 2,166 houses were demolished. Those 2,166, they were having 4,400 people living there. More than half of them are children. They became displaced. They became without a shelter. They became without a place to stay in. And for us, when we're talking about the 2,166 houses, it's almost a middle-sized town that was destructed at all. Nothing was left. The Israel authorities in East Jerusalem, they destroyed, let us say, a small middle, or actually a middle-sized village or town. 2,106. But I will go to the question that usually we hear, we notice from different partners, different friends in the international society. Look, you Palestinians are not being wise. You are building without having a permit. Why don't you go and have a permit? Apply. Why you want to be over the law? Why you don't want to obey the law? Please, they say that there is a need for 1,500, they will give you. So, is it right to say that we as Palestinians living in East Jerusalem, that we do not obey the rule? I will have 3 points that is important to share with you. First, it is unwritten law regulation in the municipality of Jerusalem that construction in East Jerusalem is forbidden. It's like, really, you will not be able. It's like the unwritten law. It's very difficult. It's actually like almost impossible to obtain a building license. For 3 reasons. Even it is the land, it's unfit for building, considered a green land or an open space. And I will talk you about unfit for building. Let us say it's in a valley or there is in a cliff. You will not be able to build on it. Okay. What about Greenland? Let us see what they have done with the Greenland. On the way to Bethlehem, back in the 90s, Bethlehem, the city of where Jesus was born, we were able to see on our left side this very beautiful forest, Jabal Abu Ghneim. The Israeli, as they occupied the city of Jerusalem, announced that Jabal Abu Ghneim is a green land, which means that no one will be able to build in this area. And what happened is that at the end of 1990, the 90s, they started and announced about Jabal Abu Ghneim settlement. And please have a look about this settlement right now. It's one of the biggest settlements in East Jerusalem. How they did it, that in 1967, as they occupied, they announced different areas as Greenland, and when there was a need to build a new settlement, they were directed to those potential areas. And I can take you here. Let us see. This is Jabal Abu Ghneim. I will remove all of the layers so that you will be able to see it better. You can see that there are like some forests that they are still there. By the way, this is Beit Sahur, where is the shepherd's field. This is Bethlehem city, the Nativity Church is here. And these lands, they were, most of them are for Palestinians from the village, from the town of Beit Sahur, that they were able to go there to use it and to plant there. But you can see this is the separation wall itself, making it impossible for them to go to use their lands, to agriculture them, and it was confiscated. Another important example, which is remote settlement, you can see that there are still forests here surrounding the settlement itself, and they were. This land also was in 1994, 1995, it was announced that they are going to build a new settlement. Here it was for ultra-Orthodox Jewish settlement, that on Saturday, this road exactly here, that this is Shafat, Palestinian town, it will be closed so that they will not be able to use their vehicles there. And Har Huma settlement, the one that Jabal Abu I showed the picture here, it is for secular Jewish. So that even they divided where to live, the secular Jewish and where the ultra-Orthodox Jewish to live. And this is the game here in Jerusalem. What this result? That 12% of East Jerusalem, here again back to East Jerusalem, is considered residential area, that people will be able to live here. Okay? To talk about license fees and duration. By the way, just to let you know that I will be more than delighted to share the PowerPoint, to share the layers of the Google Earth with you. I will share it with our friends in Sabil so that they can distribute it on you. And also for us, it's important so that you will be able to share it with your friends, to share it, to highlight the violations that are happening in Jerusalem. License fees and duration. Again, you will think that, okay, Palestinians, the construction is allowed in 12%. Why you don't obtain a license there? Just to let you know that if we are looking at the cost of the cost of obtaining a license, it is almost 30,000 US dollars to obtain a license to build a house. 120,000 shekels. While the cost of the building itself, having the workers, having the materials, it's almost $40,000. So it's the case that it is $32,000 to have a permit and almost $40,000 to build it. So the permit itself, it is almost the same amount. And you will say, okay, go and obtain it. No. The problem here is that we are talking about a very difficult and long procedures that will be almost for 10, 12, 15 years to obtain a permit for building a house. And the case is not that you will go and pay the $32,000 for the municipality, and okay, after 10 years, you will come and have it. No, no, no. It's a case that first, you will pay an amount for instance, for the transportation department, then for the water department, then for the archaeology. And if there is a problem with the archaeology, the whole process of obtaining a permit, it will be frozen and it will be delayed. Why? Because Jerusalem is a historical city. Wherever you are digging, you will find something that is related for our ancestors, and they will stop all of the process. And so, cases that we have noticed that the permit was stopped and they did not give the permit because they found some archaeological evidence. Okay, so that the case here, it's not a case that you will pay the 32,000 and take it. No, it is a long process that it will be delayed. For instance, if we are talking about the electricity department of the telecommunication, and there is the taxes, all of them unpredictable. And the plot ratio, I will leave it for because I have right now 10 minutes. I will talk about the city center plan. You can see here that we are talking about the city center plan in East Jerusalem. Okay, this is triangular, that it is 689, almost 700 dunums. The municipality announced that they are looking to develop and to regulate the construction and planning rights for Palestinians in this area. The reality is not that. The reality is like to solidify the Israeli sovereignty over an area that is considered the heart of the city of Jerusalem. And let me show you those two cover pages of two different plans in Jerusalem. You can see here that we have two cover pages. Right now, on the right, you have plan number 10149, which is for East Jerusalem, the plan to develop East Jerusalem, while here you can see the West Jerusalem, how they are looking to develop it. And this showing how they, as Israelis, are working on having a stereotype. East Jerusalem, within the plans, they are showing that there are some Bedouins nearby New Gate, nearby Damascus Gate, so that they are saying, okay, whatever we are doing, it will be excellent. Talking about about Bedouin communities, and this is the entrance of the city of Jerusalem. I will go micro on this. This is Salah ad-Din. I'm not sure how many of you were able to visit Jerusalem, but Salah ad-Din is considered the commercial center of the city of Jerusalem. Salah ad-Din area, you can see here a picture that I was able to take in 2019, and here a picture since the 50s. And you can see that only one floor was added, and this floor that was added was back in the Jordanian era. It's not something that, to tell you the truth, that was built within after they occupied the city. No, this picture that you can see on the left, it is since 50, but it's nothing happened. But let us go down. Here we can see the entrance of the city of Jerusalem, West Jerusalem. 14 buildings with 24 floors. 9 buildings with 36 floors. This was licensed. This was approved by the Israel authorities. And East Jerusalem, nothing. We are still struggling obtaining a permit for building a house. We as a legal aid organization, we objected this, and we have different challenges. Even a school that was built that had received a permit for a school, they are not considering a school. They consider it as a residential, like different issues. I put them aside and go about revoking residency rights, because we talked about increasing the number of settlers as first point. Second point, we talked about house demolition and revoking residency rights. If me, as a Palestinian living outside the city of Jerusalem for 7 years, I will lose the right to continue living in the city of Jerusalem. 7 years. So what happened that between 1967 and 2021, 14,727 Palestinians that they were born in Jerusalem, they lost the right to continue living in the city of Jerusalem. 14,727. From them, I have three cousins. One that was married, that's still married to an American, one who's married to a French, and one who's married to German. Three of them, three that our whole family, that our grandfathers were born in the city of Jerusalem. Right now, those three cousins, as they are looking to come to visit Jerusalem, they have to obtain a visa, a tourist visa. So is the number 14,000 the final? No. Because for us, this number, the 14,000, it is only the people that directly lost the right. What about the others? Because for me, for us as Jerusalem, each of my cousin have like three boys or three children. And for us, it is their right to come to live inside Jerusalem. They are not able. So we are talking about almost 50,000 Palestinians lost their right to come and live in the city of Jerusalem. And for us, it's a very difficult situation. For us, it's something that we are looking to help, we as a legal aid organization, to obtain back our residency rights. And here, I just would like to share you this important figure. In 2008, you can see that we are talking about in 1 year, 4,577 people lost the right to live inside Jerusalem. Between 1967 and 2007, hold on, let me go to highlight. In 1 year, Israeli Ministry of Interior revoked more than 4,500 people the rights to live inside the city of Jerusalem. In 1 year alone. It was like over the whole average. And then after this, there was no one left to revoke his right. What about family unification? Family unification, for whom doesn't know the situation, it's a process for a spouse that is married to a Jerusalemite, that it will give him or her a right to live inside Jerusalem. Because according to Israel law, if you fell in love with a Palestinian, a man or a woman from Palestine, from the West Bank, you will not be able to live together in East Jerusalem. And one of those people whom are facing this is my sister. My sister, her husband is from Beit Jala, and they are not able to live inside the city of Jerusalem because they all the time go into micro details about the family itself. According to the figures that we received, 17% of the family unification are rejected, while 28 are in process, which means in the process that the family itself will not be able to come and live in Jerusalem. It will be only be able to live in the West Bank. What about their children? The children also, it's a big challenge. If one of the parents of the child is a West Banker, they should go through a very special process, and they will not be able to register. They will not be able to receive education. They will not be able to receive healthcare. They will be able to receive nothing. I will not talk about the, I will talk about, I will finish here. This is about apartheid. Ehud Barak, he is a former Israeli prime minister between in June 2017, at that time, he said, and it is like in 2017, Israel's current situation is not an apartheid. I'm quoting what he said to the Haaretz newspaper, the Israeli newspaper. But he said that is on a slippery slope heading to the direction of apartheid. He said that Israel is not an apartheid state at the current situation back in 2017. But right now, before talking about, but at that time, he said that he sees that the state of Israel is on a slippery slope toward apartheid. For us as Jerusalemites, for us as Palestinians, for us as human beings, we in Jerusalem, we in Palestine, we in the West Bank, and in Gaza, we breathe the apartheid on a daily basis with the roads network, that there is a network for the Palestinians and another network, roads network and transportation network for the settlers. We are talking about like the Palestinian neighborhoods in East Jerusalem and the settlements in East Jerusalem. If you pass by a Palestinian neighborhood, you will easily distinguish that there is no service, there is no infrastructure, everything is different. Even we as Jerusalemites, we pay the same amount of taxes as Israelis. What's our message after having you here with us? For us, we will never leave our home. What's happening in East Jerusalem, what's happening in the West Bank, what's happening in Gaza is an ethnic cleansing. What's happening in Gaza is a genocide. And really, whatever is happening in the West Bank, including East Jerusalem, it's not comparable to the situation in Gaza. No food, no medicine, no humanitarian aid, nothing. And Gaza itself made us speechless and not able to compare or talk about it at all. Thank you for listening, and I will stop here. So if you have any questions or any uh, inquiries, I'll be available and I will be more than delighted to answer your questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rami, for this presentation. And I think it was a really good, you showing the maps was a really useful tool for us to understand kind of the magnitude of the displacements that are happening. So if anyone has questions for Rami, please, put it in the chat and I'll make sure to relay it. I do see one question about Quakers, and maybe this can be like how are Quakers connected to Jerusalem? But maybe we can have that be a larger question about religious institutions and what their role has been historically, churches, things like this, in either the displacement or the resistance of this too.
Should I answer about the please? I see if
Yes.
comments have raised her hand.
Yeah, feel free to answer this question first, and then we can get Francis to ask her question.
Okay, just a moment. About the Quakers,
And the role of religious institutions in general in
the role of religious institutes in Jerusalem, I think it's very important. We are talking about like the different faiths in Jerusalem, starting with Christianity, with the Islamic Awqaf, and also with the friends. Like we have different Jewish friends that they are supporting, stopping the apartheid, stopping the occupation in the West Bank. So that such voices for us is very important. And when we are talking about an institutional for us, it is something vital. Today, I was in At-Taiba village. At-Taiba village, it is a Palestinian Christian town nearby Ramallah that was attacked many times by the settlers. And lastly, it was attacked by the church itself. Al-Khadr church was attacked in At-Taiba. And why I'm giving you this example, because for the mayor of At-Taiba, for him, it was like excellent that we were able to receive delegations from the Church World Council and from the patriarchates that are in Jerusalem. It is very important in order to highlight these violations. We have like different organizations such as a Sabil organization working on the theological. Quakers themselves, as they started working in the occupied territory back in the 70s, for them it was an important mission that, in the 70s there was the social and economic rights in the states, and the Quakers were very active, as we have noticed, in this movement, and they came to Jerusalem trying to support this issue.
Thank you, Rami. Francis, you have a question?
Uh, I just want to thank you so much uh, for this presentation today. Now, for me, and I guess for most of us, this wasn't really new information. We've known that this was going on, but somehow the way you presented it today, it just was absolutely horrific. I just couldn't believe how what a horrible situation it is, and it just anyway, it really brought it home. Thank you so much for that.
You're most welcome. You're most welcome, Francis.
Thank you, Rami. Maybe you can also talk about JLAC and the work that you do and how we can support JLAC's work as well.
For us, shukran Than, for this question and for this comment. For us, really, it's very important to support our advocacy mission. Uh, since the beginning, as I showed you the New York Times article back in 1975, because as I started at JLAC in 2008, I thought that, okay, like 90% of the cases that we are reaching, we are facing, we're adopting, we reach a dead end, and we will not be able, because Israeli the lawmakers there in Israel are working on legalizing the violations of Palestinians in Jerusalem. Just a moment. Sorry for this. And for this reason, we thought that when we're talking about the case of those cases that we reach a dead end, we think that it is very important to work in parallel to the legal representation with advocacy. For us, back in 1974 and 1975, when the Quakers were working on shedding the light of some essential rights for Palestinians in the city of Jerusalem and the West Bank, this gave us like a very important, how to say, push, and encouraged us to continue our work. Having as Sabil today with us, having friends of Sabil, having from the United States, from Europe, from any part of the world, that they are looking to support the Palestinian cause. This is important, and this is we are looking for it. JLAC as an organization right now, as I mentioned, is working on providing legal aid, but in parallel to it, it is very important to talk about advocacy and having these venues. Shukran. Katie.
Kathy?
Oh,
Kathy.
thank you. Rami, some of the religious organizations have not been given visas, like the directors. For example, the directors of Mennonite Central Committee are living in Jordan and come across the bridge once in a while. So is this happening to other religious organizations as well?
Yes, yes, this is happening for like different, not only even like religious organizations or Christian organizations. This is giving also for international organizations that they are like shedding the light on violations, that they are talking about the violations, about occupying what the Israel authorities are doing. All of this is leading that those international organizations and also including Christian organizations that they are operating before 1940, before the establishment of the state of Israel. This is leading that they are banned and they are forbidden, they are banning them from working and operating or even living in the city of Jerusalem or in the West Bank.
Because MCC has been there since 49.
Yeah, this is the case that we are talking about different organizations that they were established and they are operating before 1948.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
Sure, welcome, welcome.
Thank you, Kathy, for your question. I had another question. Maybe you can elaborate, like kind of detail this more. I've asked it to several speakers in the past, but as a legal organization, maybe you have some insight on this also. But I mean, as we see kind of on your presentation, there is a big crisis of international law, right? That this is being ignored completely in the context of Jerusalem. And I think over the last 2 years since October 7th, we see it even, this crisis even worsen because despite, the ICC, despite all this, like nothing is being done. So I'm curious, what your thoughts are on kind of this crisis of international law. How do we move forward from here?
Now, I will tell you something then, and also our friends all over the attendees today. Unfortunately, what happened in Gaza after October 7th, like, actually, this is a reality that we as Palestinians lost the hope of the international law. Watching the famine in Gaza on a daily basis, watching the genocide, watching killing of children, the bombing of churches, the bombing of mosques, the bombing of universities, and the international law that led for a conclusion that international law is toothless. It is something that they will not be able to implement or to stop Israel from acting or having violations against us. We used to have like different workshops for young students from the universities, from the cultural centers, that we go and talk to them about international law, respecting international law, about human rights, about the human rights values. But after what happened in Gaza and how the international society was not able to stop anything, and even like you can right now, we're talking about sending humanitarian aid, which is excellent. The international society is working on dropping the humanitarian aid, and they are not talking to Israel directly that you should open a safe corridor, that those humanitarian aid should enter Gaza. So, what is the conclusion here? That we as Palestinians, we lost hope of international law, and also we lost hope about like the international society to be able to say that what is Israel is doing is a genocide, and this is not acceptable. Not only because of international law, but also according to the laws about the humanity and the human rights that we were raised on it. But as a result, nothing has coming from the international law. And if we are comparing this to, sorry, this one last comment. What happened when Russia invaded Ukraine and how all of the international society, the Europeans, the Americans, they were like talking about the sanctions against Russia, and nothing is happening to Israel. This is like a scene that usually it's important for us to compare.
And thank you, Rami. And it seems like there's a gap between those in power and those who are just citizens. Like a lot of people, I mean, the majority of the world is sympathetic and they also, care. So I wonder if you have any like last words to say, to our audience today who care about these issues and want to seek justice. If there's anything in terms of
I would like to thank them. Having them here, having all of the attendees here, it's for us, it's very important. It's an important indicator that we are talking about 56 people that gathered in one room in order to talk, to listen, and to know what's going on, not only in Jerusalem, in Palestine. This is for us like, how do you say, like refreshing us and giving us more hope. Our message to our friends here, it's important to continue supporting Palestinian rights. It's important to continue supporting, to call to stop the war, to stop the genocide against Gaza. All the actions that have been done in the United States, in Europe, in Australia, these were very important, giving us more hope in our case, more hope in our cause. Thank you, everybody. Thank you for having me here, and thank you, then, for Sabil organization.
Thank you, Rami. There's a lot of questions. Well, there's one question maybe I can just ask before you leave,
Please.
since it's a very good question from Judith. And she asks, do you see an ultimate solution to the failure to ensure Palestinian civil rights beyond international law, which, as you say, has no teeth currently? What would you want international law to do beyond arresting Israeli leaders?
I think it's important to have all of the, how do you say, like the popular movements, the internet, the movements that are working on the people level and having the sanctions, like calling for sanctions and holding Israel accountable for its acts. This is important when we are working like on the people level, not on the governmental level, because the people, they are choosing the governments, they are working on electing the governments, and this is the thing that it's like keeping us like little bit that we think that this will be able, like the coming generations as they are going to elect them, we should call for holding Israel accountable for its crimes, holding Israel accountable for the genocide that it is conducting in Gaza. And in order to have more and pressure than, I think it is having sanctions against Israel, divestment and boycotting the Israeli settlements. It's very important.
Thank you, Rami, and thank you for your powerful presentation today. I've put your website, JLAC, down. If you want to put your email, I know a lot of people were interested in contacting you further, if that's something you want to do.
I'm sorry, I was not able to read the
No
messages,
worries.
but this is my email. I'm putting it here. I will share with them, with our friends, the Sabil, both of the PowerPoint presentation and also with some fact sheets that we have just finalized about the Greater Jerusalem Bill, also about some layers of map on Google Earth. Who's interested, they can download Google Earth and have the file that I'm going to share with you so that you will be able to share it with your friends.
Thank you so much, Rami.
Shukran for you, and thank you all, and looking for